Yeah, good morning to you, Tom. That is the case. A number of people have begun to repay their mortgages, but the loan deferral system really has been one of the great saviours, one of the great success stories of this pandemic, and there haven't been too many of those, we should say. We can bring up a graphic and give the viewers an idea of the numbers of people we're talking about here. Banks are beginning to ask some 900,000 or some 900,000 loans to begin being repaid. We're talking 450,000 being assessed in the coming weeks. 105,000 of those belong to businesses. 260,000 of those belong to mortgages. Those who can pay are being asked to begin repaying. Those still struggling are being asked to sit down and have a chat with their bank manager. They might be afforded another 4 months, but there is certainly no guarantee here. Liberal MP Dave Sharma is calling on banks to continue showing more flexibility for the sake of the economy.
Banks will, be rightly assessing people's capacity to pay, and it might be that some businesses that were closed when this was first assessed are now reopening and they've got cash flow, they can make their payments, some households as well. But if, people are still out of work or their business is still closed because of COVID-19, and I think that's particularly the case in Victoria, I do hope that the banks show some flexibility, because ultimately they'll be better off with a growing economy and with businesses that remain liquid and with households that, remain financial.
And Jonathan, as we heard there, the criticism from the federal government towards Victoria, well, it's probably going to only ramp up from here.
Yeah, thinly veiled fury is how some people are putting it, Tom. The concern is that Victoria really has set this bar far too high. Let's begin to have a listen.
If you look at the hurdles that they're setting themselves, to say, for example, for their second last step that restaurants can't have indoor patrons until there have been 14 days without a single, not one, a single community transmission, I think is setting the bar very, very high.
We don't know really enough about this virus to say with confidence we can eliminate it at this stage, absent a vaccine. So, absent a vaccine, our strategy has to be to live with it, and live with it in a way that protects public health but allows people's jobs and livelihoods to go on. And look, that's a difficult balance to strike, I can see that, but I think there are a number of examples elsewhere around Australia where states are managing that.
Yeah, Tom, it's very clear who the coalition is blaming at the moment. It's not just Dan Andrews, it's the state governments in effect controlled by Labor premiers. Here's Barnaby Joyce early this morning having a fair spray.
For the eastern side, it's an absolute disaster, and you can't just have all these separate countries. I don't even know whether it's constitutional with your capacity to close your border, but they've done it. And I don't know how you resolve that. We have a civil war or something. We send the army, it is complete overreach. It's causing massive damage. And we've had this conversation before, but they're not going to change because it's parochialism. It's parochialism and populism. We've got, 5 populist compasses. They're all pointing in different directions, and a nation that's trying to steer its ship through this economic crisis.
Yeah, it does really highlight the fact that we are in a position of constitutional chaos at the moment. Everyone is walking this tightrope, and there's very little the Prime Minister can do, especially when he doesn't want to risk his own popularity, Tom.